and transform as an island. Just hold that respect and that regard that you have for each other and the energy that makes Barbados so unique. There are 238 days left before we all celebrate this monumental and pivotal point in Barbados' history. So what are you going to do after these independence celebrations that continue to make Barbados as unique as it's always been? This is Esther Austin from London.
Countdown to 50.
The time is now 7 p.m. Time for the CBC Evening News. This time check is brought to you by Fruta.
The UE appeals for more donors, a plan to improve parent-teacher relationships. And in sports, Barbados and Jamaica still on course for a showdown at the Regional Youth Netball Championship.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
Very good evening. I'm Lisa Broom. This is the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, the University of the West Indies at Cave Hill wants more donors to assist in developing the region's best. The call was made as several students who exemplify dedication and hard work in academics and sporting achievements were recognized and rewarded during the 2016 Students' Awards ceremony. We have more in this report from Kishmar Sinjis.
Leading the call to help develop the region's talent is Principal and Pro Vice Chancellor Professor Udine Baroto. She's telling potential donors they will be investing in the region.
We are open to you determining the conditions of your award, to deciding how that award would be granted to provide you or your institution with the profile you desire. For example, you may state that awarded students must agree to volunteer in a children's or old people's home for X hours a month. As principal, I would welcome the scholarship and any acceptable stipulations.
Campus Registrar Kenneth Walters says the generosity of donors is welcome, especially during these trying times. He thanked the banking sector for its support.
CIBC First Caribbean International Bank Limited remains one of the Cave Hill campus's most faithful and generous donors, with a substantial contribution of 15 undergraduate scholarships valued at Barbados $5,000 each, for a total donation of 75,000 Barbados dollars. Well done and thank you. Scotiabank Barbados Limited, another faithful donor, offered one undergraduate scholarship valued at 7,000 Barbados dollars and 4 additional scholarships valued at Barbados $3,000 each.
Among the awardees, Kashawn Wood. He was presented with a Dame Dr. Bernice Lake Award. Aaliyah Burnett. She received the Cave Hill campus's IT Services Award. The Craig Nurse Memorial Award for Vision and Fortitude was awarded to Clara Bellamy. The Scotiabank Award, Najee Goring. And the CIBC First Caribbean International Bank Scholarship was awarded to 7 students. Guest speaker Alex McDonald of the Barbados Private Sector Association reminded the students of the importance of networking.
Use this chance to make friends. It will serve you well, and that is a gift that the university gives you that you never know that you have until you need it or you fritter it away. So I built my network. Establishing a solid base. You may grind right now about how boring the work is, how grinding the work is, but the university grinds you to polish you.
Congratulations. Kishma Senjis, CBC News.
There are plans to improve the relationship between parents and teachers. Spearheading the initiative is the National Council of Parent-Teachers Associations. President Sean Gibbs explains.
One of the things that we're seeking to do in short order is have a protocol out there, a draft protocol on how parents should be engaged or can be engaged within the school system, and we will share it with the other stakeholders and maybe come up with a common policy as to how parents should engage the school and how matters can be resolved so that they don't escalate out of hand or into undesirable tones as we would have seen in the past.
Mr. Gibbs adds that part of the reason for the protocol is that these relationships are often not what they should be.
There must be a more more civil approach to communication between teachers and parents. We all are pursuing the same things in the interest of our children. We celebrate success for our children, and teachers, whether or not they like it, are defined by the success of the children by way of the school. So we're all pursuing the same goals. So why it is that we can't get along better in pursuit of those goals?
Several Barbadian companies have been listed in the leaked Panama Papers. The so-called Panama Papers expose how some of the world's most powerful people have used offshore bank accounts to conceal their wealth or avoid taxes. A check of the website of the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists revealed 34 countries from Barbados are listed in the leaked documents. Also listed are 12 clients, 5 beneficiaries, and 34 shareholders. The companies, however, have not been named. Other Caribbean countries listed include St. Lucia, Trinidad and Tobago, Bermuda, the Bahamas, and the British Virgin Islands. Now, as it relates to the Bahamas, 4,987 companies are listed. Meanwhile, several countries and people are seeking to distance themselves from the documents. The situation has also drawn responses from world leaders.
It is the question that everyone is asking, waiting to see what other revelations are going to come from that 11.5 million documents. Bearing in mind, though, Christy, that these documents have been pored over for the last year or so by the Commission for Investigative Journalism, as well as many, many other media outlets. So we may have seen the big headlines featuring, as you say, the Iceland Prime Minister, President Vladimir Putin, who was not named in those leaked documents, but certainly very close associates of his were, and also Xi Jinping's family named as well. The interesting one is what's happening in Ukraine with Petro Poroshenko. Now, his tactic at the moment is to say, yes, I do have these offshore companies. I fully admit to having those, but I'm not using them for any nefarious activities. The implication is that he could have used them to make tax savings, significant tax savings. Listen to what he had to say.
He's doing not for minimizing the taxes, not secretly, nothing. It was absolutely publicly appeared on Ukrainian media and registered on my name.
So he says, I've been transparent and it's all above the board, but during his election campaign back in 2014, he did say that he would sell large chunks of his chocolate empire, he's known as the Chocolate King, if he was elected. It now seems to be the fact that he's still got ownership, but he's placed it in these offshore accounts, Christy. The Ukraine public prosecutor's initial response has been, it doesn't look like there's been any criminal damage, but wait and see. And there are certainly members of Parliament pressing for A, an impeachment, and B, further investigation into this. So he's not off the hook yet. And just remember too, the Australian authorities from those documents have now launched their own investigation, as have the UK authorities and Mexico. So they may find evidence of wrongdoing, criminality, tax evasion mainly. Can't say for sure, obviously, at the moment.
The Royal Barbados Police Force is dedicating resources to tackle stunt riding by motorcyclists. Head of the Traffic Division, Assistant Superintendent Ronald Stanford, says the problem has become very widespread. He was speaking during CBC Presents on TV8 last night, where protecting our vulnerable road users was discussed.
We are putting special operations in place, and hopefully this will reduce the whole wheeling business. It's really, we have gotten a lot of complaints from motorists.
You have arrested these people that doing these wheelies? Because sometimes when I see them, I see the police never on the spot to see these people.
Some have been arrested and charged.
And motorcyclist Chad Harewood says the stunts should be seen as a skill, and he's advocating for a special area for motorcyclists to perform such activities.
The motocross guys do the wheeling on the road because their motorcycle is not made for high speed situations. Their motorcycle is built for the land, what we call the land, or basically the country areas. Hitting off of a cliff and falling, and you can land your suspension and everything is good. The street bikers cannot do that. We have the speed, therefore we don't need that adrenaline rush of a wheelie in the air. So that is the difference. They can't come on the road and speed or use a certain amount of cc's because the bike is not that powerful to enjoy it. So for them to enjoy the road, they feel the need, they have to do that. But I believe if they were offered the opportunity to have a space directly to enjoy their motorcycles and have maybe some nice CBC coverage so that we can export that to places like the X Games and these kinds of things and export this talent, we could be making some money.
Well, his suggestion was supported by Assistant Superintendent Stanford, who says this will deter the motorcyclists from performing stunts on the road. Meantime, another cyclist, Ross Callender, who was also on the panel, says drivers act as though they do not want to share the road. He says drivers must also act responsibly.
A couple of years ago, I was knocked off my bike. I had 3 lights at the back of my bike, 2 on the front, and I was still hit. So
you were probably hit by a drunken driver.
It's not always the fact that the cyclist or the motorcyclist must have reflective gear. Is that the drivers must have more,
they must pay more attention to what's happening.
Exactly. So they need to slow down, one, and they need to be more visual too, because it is a growing concern.
We'll have more news after the break, including a plea for integration. Stay with us.
More great cities just got closer. The Scotiabank Aero Platinum MasterCard is now even better. Fly to New York, Miami, Orlando, and Fort Lauderdale with just 20,000 Scotia points. With your new Scotiabank Aero Platinum MasterCard, you'll receive a welcome bonus of 10,000 Scotia points, so you can enjoy the cities you love most sooner than ever. Apply by March 31st. Call 1-800-744-2672 or visit your nearest branch. Scotiabank. Discover what's possible.
Did you know that baby's tummy is as small as his little foot? But he needs 5 times more nutrition than you. Nestum provides vitamins, minerals, and probiotics that he needs in the right size portion for his little tummy. And he loves it. Nestum infant cereals, big nutrition for small tummies. Nestle, good food, good life.
Distributed by Massey Distribution.
Mirror Image, a thought-provoking histrionic body of work with an intricate interweave of poetry, song, and dance, creating that portal to review the past and allow for further self-examination in the present. The show opens April 2nd and continues 3rd, 9th, and 10th at the Parkinson Memorial School and starts at 7 nightly. Doors open 6:15 p.m. The admission, $20 for adults, $10 for children 4 to 10 years old. Tickets are available at Pinelands Creative Workshop. Call 430-0551 or 426-1157.
20
2016 is certainly a year of celebration, as like our great country, we at Pine Hill will celebrate our own 50th anniversary. We look to the future with optimism, yet we hold dear to our tradition of helping to nourish Barbadians since 1966, and we want you to come along and help as we take a historic look back. We're in search of Pine Hill artifacts including cartons, milk bottles, crates, photographs, or any other historical Pine Hill material for our 50th anniversary exhibit. If you're willing to contribute, please give us a call at 227-6706 or 243-4089. Pine Hill, 50 years with you.
Two Eastern European men held for allegedly skimming ATMs will have to wait until tomorrow before they know their fate. The two, 25-year-old Bulgarian Anton Nedev and 39-year-old Ukrainian Ruslan Leska, were remanded to Dodds Prison when they appeared in court yesterday. The police say they executed a search warrant at the apartment of the two accused men and seized articles and devices connected to skimming, as well as a quantity of money. The two were jointly charged with the offences of going equipped and money laundering. Nedev was also charged with being in possession of one Spanish driver's license and one Ministry of the Interior card for use in connection with criminal deception. Now, back in 2013, two Bulgarians were arrested and charged in what was described back then as the country's largest case of ATM fraud. A leading local musician has had one of his pieces adopted as the official song for Barbados' Golden Jubilee celebrations. John Rowett donated his song, Barbados is Home, after news emerged that none of the 21 submitted in a competition call late last year gained the approval of a judging panel. Permanent Secretary attached to the 50th Anniversary of Independence Celebration Secretariat, Gabrielle Springer, says Mr. Rowett made the offer after hearing about the unsuccessful search. Ms. Springer adds that Mr. Rowett, who offered to write the song as his gift to the nation, will manage and produce the recording, which will feature several of Barbados's leading artists. The Secretariat will meet the technical costs of the production. The Permanent Secretary says the song is expected to be completed later this month, after which it will be officially launched. Successful regional integration is an attainable goal which is necessary in a time of globalization. As separate entities, countries in the Caribbean are small and vulnerable and must seize whatever advantages are available to be competitive. St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris says integration can help the region preserve individual strengths through collective cooperation. Speaking at the University of the West Indies, students today, alumni